Hello, YouTube explorers. I'm Cody Tarot, and you're on the Cody Tarot channel. I will be reading your tarot cards today. And yeah, if you've been on the channel before, let me know what you think about the new intro. Just kidding. I was trying something different for fun today. But I have a really important reading to do today because I was going through some of my older pick-a-cards, and I was recently watching my pick-a-card about your ex and like the closure with your ex person's perspective. And I thought, maybe it's not enough to get closure from your ex, but what if we could get closure from our ex's higher self? So that's what this reading is about today. So today we have a message from your ex's higher self. So think of the ex in your mind, think of the ex that you want to communicate with, or their higher self. And their higher self is going to be, the thing about the higher self is that it's kind of like a supercharged version of the person in question. So it's kind of like their higher state with all their full values intact, with all their full potential intact, and kind of like the highest growth point that they can reach to, that they can even access themselves if they so choose. But basically, we're going to be communicating with them, the highest version of your ex, kind of like the most spiritually advanced version of them. So without further ado, let's get into the piles. So group one, we have Beyond the Ordinary. And for group two, we have Great Big Love. For group three, we have Broken Open. And for group four, we have Birds of a Feather. So take all the time you need to pick. You can pick the card based off colors. You can pick it based off the phrase that's on the card. You can even pick it based off the numbers. I'll give you the numbers now. This one says 45, 26, 28, and 25. There is really no right or wrong way to pick. Whatever way gets you the most accurate reading for you is the correct way. So with that said, I'll give you a moment to choose your selection or pick your card, and we'll get right into the reading, starting with group number one. All right, now let's get into your reading, starting with group number one, Beyond the Ordinary. Hey, group one, this is if you picked Beyond the Ordinary. This card over here. Put that back over there. It's an interesting card. Beyond the Ordinary makes me think of like something extraordinary or just different than the norm, or something kind of like not what you would expect. So maybe that'll have to do with your reading. Maybe you thought of your ex. Maybe your ex was a unique type of person, or maybe you had a unique situation for your relationship or situationship. But let's get into it. So we have three oracle cards here. I already pulled them, and then I'm going to be drawing the tarot cards, shuffling for each pile. So let's get into it. Let's put these cards out. I'm not taking reversals. And yeah, so let's get into it. So your oracle card is Yin, and your love story oracle card is Healing, and your archetype card is Gambler. Okay, now let's draw some tarot cards to get a little bit more information. Sometimes when I draw the cards will like flip out like that, and then they'll flip back in. And I did see the Tower, so I'm definitely sensing that this is kind of going to be a transformational pile, as maybe like an overarching theme, or there might be some kind of transformation. I see that again with Healing. But let's just draw the tarot cards and see what we get. So I'm drawing 4 tarot cards for this group, for all the groups. Make sure, okay, that's all on the screen. Let's see, we have 7 of Wands, the Chariot, the Magician, and the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so your ex's higher self, what are they trying to communicate? Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with Yin. This is coming across as kind of like the story between both of you. or something that was kind of like between your ex and you. Your ex's higher self wants to know, or wants to let you know, that they're kind of sorry for the fact that your ex was so shy. Yin is a very receptive energy. It represents kind of like receiving. It can even represent intuition or being in tune with kind of like the observational mindset and kind of observing what's going on. It's the receptive energy. It's the feminine energy. And what I'm seeing here is your ex was very withdrawn, very to themselves. This can manifest in many different ways for different people watching. So for some of you, your ex was just more introverted, didn't want to go out and socialize, didn't want to go to parties, something like that. For a lot of others of you, and something I'm seeing that's important, is your ex they would almost never stand up for you. I'm seeing that here with the Seven of Wands. Something that happened in the relationship is that, if you were being picked on or something, they never stood up and stood up to their friends or stood up to the people in the room or whoever was picking on you and stood up and kind of defended you. In some rare cases, they went along with the people that were picking on you and kind of picked on you a little bit. I'm definitely sensing also with the Seven of Wands, there is this like element of resistance too, where you felt like, or your ex's higher self is pointing out that they're aware that you felt very defensive or that you had to be on the defense the whole time while you were dating this person. I can see on the flip side with healing, there is this element where your ex's higher self wants you to know that there was healing involved in this relationship. It wasn't all destruction. I got the Tower flipped up, and that can represent destruction. But because we have the healing card as one of the cards that's placed out front, I'm definitely sensing that like there was kind of like a transformation through healing. So your ex's higher self also wants to point out that with the Chariot here, that your ex eventually, or when they're their full potential, they do stand up for the underdog, or they stand up for people who are in a position lower than them, or they stand up for people in a position who are in a weaker position than them. It's just that in this case, they didn't because they were just not as evolved, basically, at this point in time. With this healing, I'm sensing that this could have been one of this person's earlier relationships. They may have had one or two other relationships, or kind of like, I'm sensing also your ex maybe had somewhat of a traumatic past that was discussed between both of you, and that's something that kept you guys together. With the healing card, I'm looking at this heart, and it's kind of like a locket, and there's the stitches in the heart. So I'm definitely seeing that you guys kind of helped stitch each other up, or you kind of helped your ex stitch up some of their wounds. Your ex's higher self wants to let you know that they had to separate from you, or you guys had to split up for your ex to develop their assertive nature, assertive side. Because we see that here with the Chariot. And it's not just standing up for others, it's your ex's willpower in general. I feel like you guys were meant to come together to heal these wounds, to heal certain traumas in your past, but instead you guys you also would demotivate each other in little ways, basically. There was an element of both of you kind of commiserating with each other's problems and stuff, but I'm definitely seeing that there's this element that your ex was not as assertive as they could have been. They didn't stand up for you when they needed to, when you needed a defender. It was almost like you guys could see each other's wounds so clearly, but you couldn't help defend from future attacks. It's like you could always heal each other. Like after the fact, I'm sure that your ex and you kind of like healed each other from different wounds. If you like told them that you were upset in a situation, you wish they would have stood up for you in that situation. It was like post fact or after the fact, there was a commiseration and there was a healing and there was I'm sorry and stuff like that. But basically the thing is that it was just, there wasn't an easy way for you guys to defend each other is what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing one of the things that drew you two together was the fact that you were so different from each other. That was kind of like one thing that was like really interesting, and one of the reasons why it was difficult to get that kind of willpower. I see with the Chariot here with the black and the white Sphinx at the bottom of the card, the black and the white Sphinx, that's kind of representing both of your energies. The fact that they were a yin and maybe you had some yang energy in your personality. So there might have been some times where you stood up for your ex, but it was almost as if they didn't appreciate it or they didn't need the help. They didn't need that kind of defense, but then you needed the defense, but it was almost like you had a hard time kind of like standing up for yourself, but you could stand up for others. I'm definitely seeing that. Yeah, one of the things that your ex's higher self wants you to know is that with this Magician card, is that you both are going to be in a better place apart from each other than together. I'm definitely seeing that like this relationship came together and split up for a reason. With Gambler, oh, it's interesting, my air just turned off, so that's confirmation of that message. Also with Gambler, willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you. This is something your ex's higher self really wants to instill in you. Something that your ex kind of couldn't really see in you, but in the future when they are fully developed, and if your ex was their higher self, they could be able to see this, is that you have a very strong intuition. With Gambler, you have good money instincts too. With Ace of Pentacles right here, with this coin being offered, I'm saying that your ex's higher self wants you to know this. They want you to know that you can make money, or you can be good with money, or you can be adept in the financial sphere. You don't have to kind of like let other people run your life financially for you. I'm definitely seeing that like with the Ace of Pentacles here, aces can kind of represent the seed or the beginning. This is like a potential card. Like you have the potential to grow into kind of a very financially savvy person. And with Gambler here, you have the ability to make those risky moves that can get you success in the long run. With Beyond the Ordinary and the Seven of Wands, the Seven of Wands to me is a card about uniqueness or individuality or being different from the group and having to defend yourself against the group. So there may have been some situations where your relationship was scrutinized by the group around you. Yeah, your ex's higher self wants to point out with the Magician card here that you're going to become an excellent manifester. And if you don't resonate with the terms of manifesting, you're going to be able to get what you need in this life, especially with Ace of Pentacles. This is like a strong manifestation. These two cards combined creates like this strong kind of manifestation energy. With the Chariot here, with this motivation, your ex's higher self is trying to tell you that your ex is also going to be very motivated to get things done and stuff, and you're going to be able to draw in a lot of energy, a lot of business, a lot of money, a lot of wealth. Something that maybe you worried about when you were in the relationship with your ex, your ex's higher self is explaining or trying to let you know that you are going to be okay, that, you know, your ex kind of saw this potential. They haven't processed it quite yet, the fact that this is what it is. They basically saw hints and notes of your personality, and then later on like retro reflection, what's that called? Hindsight for your ex, they're gonna be seeing this in the future. They're gonna be looking back and thinking like, wow, they had a certain instinct for certain money ventures or certain things with like money and finances. They had a way of like finding kind of like the golden egg, or they had a way of finding kind of like the little thing that was like really unique or different about a specific business or money opportunity, and like bringing that to light. Trying to see if I see anything else. One thing your ex's higher self wants me to let you know is that they kind of learned with this yin energy that they can't stay in this yin energy for the rest of their lives. You know, they feel like they need to start standing up for themselves and others. That's why this Chariot is here. And your ex is going to learn how to do that in time. It's taking them more time. They couldn't learn it in the relationship, basically. They couldn't learn how to like stand up to like bullies or other people, or stand up for someone else within that kind of relationship. They have to kind of learn it in their own way. They have to learn how to be motivated in their own way. With the Chariot here, the Chariot also represents, with the Black Sphinx and the White Sphinx, that represents both elements of yin and yang, and like taking two opposing factors or opposing forces and making them work together. And so your ex is kind of like going through this right now, or if they're not, they will be. And as they go through this process, they're going to start to learn how to reassess the potential of those around them. That's why your ex's higher self wants to bring up this money thing right here, this ability to manifest and create wealth and kind of like see business opportunities as they arise. This might even be something that your ex inadvertently taught you in the relationship, was how to follow your intuition. They may have inadvertently taught you to be slightly more intuitive. If you look back on the relationship, there might be some elements where you had some intuitive moments with your partner where you guys kind of realize like, hey, I'm kind of seeing this happen or this play out or this thing happening based on a connection with your person. And so that's kind of something that is standing out a little bit, and it's kind of something that's going to develop your character and like some business attributes in you in the future. So your ex's higher self just wants me to point that out, that like you are going to develop into a more business savvy type person, or someone who is more good with the practical realities. And I think in a way they're saying that that's going to help heal some of this leftover residual pain from when your ex was with you, when kind of like them not stepping up to the plate or defending you or certain things like that. It's almost like this business attitude or this kind of like business savvy or this manifestation ability, this ability to kind of control your environment with your mind and kind of create, look at this magician with the infinity loop above his head. It's kind of like going in and out of reality and like kind of with his mind connected to reality. You're going to kind of create a thing, not just with business, but with the rest of your life, where you're kind of creating an as above, so below mentality, where your inner mind reflects your outer world. It's going to kind of take the place of needing to feel like you have to have a defender or someone to protect you. And I know that was the main issue in the relationship, is the fact that, you know, they didn't stand up for you, and maybe you kind of like took a more yang attitude with them. But I'm definitely seeing that like this was a lesson learned, and this kind of relationship specifically, and your ex's higher self is reiterating this, is growing you both into like really amazing people. Like this relationship was meant to happen. This relationship was meant to be the way it was, because it's highlighting certain weaknesses and certain strengths in both of you that are going to grow and develop you into different people. So it's kind of like, you might not get a defender to protect you from the harshness of the world, but you're going to develop this kind of magical manifesting business savvy, which is going to kind of get you the things you need in life. You're able to get the resources. And in a way that takes the place of this kind of weakness. It takes the place of needing to feel like you have to have a defender or someone to defend you. And it kind of makes you more empowered in yourself, which is kind of what the universe is pushing towards you. This healing card is interesting because I think that, and your ex's higher self is mentioning this too, it's like, I think that even when you guys had your differences, or you had the issues with kind of like standing up to people who are bullying on you guys and stuff, with the healing card here, there is an element that you guys still heal each other after your connection. You planted seeds of healing, seeds with the Ace of Pentacles. You planted seeds of healing that are going to far outgrow the relationship itself. And the fact that you guys are going to continue on, these seeds of healing are going to keep manifesting within you and kind of creating the lessons that need to be learned and to make you guys grow into self-sufficient individuals. It's just that your ex's higher self wants me to reiterate too, is that your ex somehow could not, something about this relationship, because it was so nurturing and so healing and so relaxing for you guys, your ex had a hard time pulling into this chariot energy, this kind of strong defender energy or ability to stand up for you, because there was more of like a nurturing component to your connection. And that was the kind of factor that made this connection so wonderful, but at the same time, it's also the reason why you guys split up and your ex is your ex. So I think that is the whole reading for you guys. So if you like that reading, like or comment below. If you really like this reading, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to move on to the second group, Great Big Love. And thank you for letting me read for you. Goodbye. Hey group 2, this is if you picked Great Big Love over here, this card. Let me set that back down. This will be your reading. So I already pre-drew the oracle cards for this reading, and I'm going to be shuffling the tarot cards on camera and pulling the cards on camera for that. So let's start off by looking at your cards. And this reading, I'm not going to be taking reversals, so that's going to be a thing. So we have Orphan for your Wisdom of Oracle card. We have Strings, and we have Hedonist. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to shuffle some tarot cards to get some more information for this group, for group 2. Okay, so sometimes when I shuffle, a card will flip out like that, and it'll indicate to me some things in the situation. And I did get the 5 of Wands, which can indicate conflict and stuff. Okay, I'm taking that card. And we'll pull 3 more. It's interesting, when I drew the conflict card and I was talking about that, the deck spit out and moved this card to the side, kind of almost like attacking your relationship. And it was interesting because it was interesting how that happened. And then there was also, with kind of what was laid out, was like the 4 of Swords, which is the card about rest. So I take these signs as like important messages. Even if they're not cards that are directly in the reading, they can be important messages for the rest of the reading. So I'll try to integrate those for the rest of the reading. So let's see, we also have 7 of Swords, 2 of Wands, and the Death card. Your ex's higher self is very, very sorry for what they did to you. There are some things in this pile that are a little intense. Not too intense. I mean, I'm not going to get like, I don't have to change my rating on my YouTube video or anything. But I'm going to be going over them. It's with this Orphan card and the Strings card and even this Death card right here. Okay, so let's get into it. Your ex, by the way, your ex's higher self is different from your ex. It's your ex kind of fully evolved, or their best self and their most advanced personality and what they're like at their best. So keep that in mind, because I'm definitely seeing some hurt, some pain, and some confusion that you may or may not still be reeling from, depending on who's watching this and who chose this pile. You may still be kind of in these feelings and dealing with these kinds of things. Let me make sure the camera's still on. Okay, so first of all, let's get into Orphaned and Death. And Hedonist. So let's talk about the positives of your relationship. So with your ex's higher self wants to let you know that they remember the fact that you and your ex really enjoyed the pleasures of life, the good things in life. With Hedonist, you have someone who is kind of enjoying like fine dining, food, drink, merriment, kind of just like relaxing and kind of like entertainment. Basically, there was a lot of fun, and that's the positive side, is there was a lot of fun as far as like consuming goods goes. Like Hedonist is also kind of about dealing with kind of like a lot of like indulgences. So that means like you guys probably went out to a lot of restaurants, or they probably, the thing is, this can also indicate, I didn't get the addict card, I did get the Hedonist card, so this is not indicating too much like an intense drugs or anything like that. But there could have been kind of like substance use kind of things in here. But what your ex's higher self wants you to know is that the kind of like indulgent life you guys were leading was 2 things. One, it was good because it got both of you to relax and have fun, and kind of like it lubricated the interaction, so you had a somewhat good relationship, right? You had like a fun relationship, like the entertainment, the excitement and the indulging in the pleasures of life was really a good time for both of you. You guys really enjoyed it. On the other hand, there could be an element where this hedonistic attitude was kind of covering certain things up, certain things that were playing underneath the surface. That comes to the Strings card, and your ex's higher self is like deeply apologizing for this Strings card. Strings is kind of the card that comes out when someone is manipulating someone else or pulling their strings and kind of controlling them from the sidelines. You were almost in this relationship kind of like a puppet that was kind of strung along by this person. And this person, I can see, was very controlling in a very subtle manner. Like they even used pleasuring, like they could have used sex, entertainment, those kinds of things to manipulate you out of certain situations or certain things that were kind of, how do I put this? You possibly needed to heal from some things, and basically this person with their nature kind of manipulated you out of the healing mode, or the mode where you needed to face your fears or face your difficulties, and kind of tried to entertain it away, if that makes sense. They kind of tried to cover it up with like restaurants and movies and parties and clubs and dinners and, you know, just anything that was kind of like indulging or entertaining. And they kind of pulled these strings along as they saw you kind of like, it's interesting because I'm also sensing a little bit the fact that your ex maybe at the time didn't want you to get ahead of them is in life because they felt like they would lose their friend. I'm sensing that this person was very lonely and this person didn't want to lose their friend. So, for example, this is why your ex's higher self is so sorry. I'm definitely seeing out of all the piles, like your ex has the longest road to becoming their higher self, or they're the most disconnected from their higher self, or at least when they were in this relationship, they were very disconnected from their higher self. Not really making that much headway into being the best version they can be. So they kind of were a little bit more manipulative, right? With the strings card. I'm sorry about your ex, and your ex's higher self is coming through and saying that they're sorry about, you know, your ex as well. The fact is your ex is going to grow into an amazing person. They are going to change for the better, especially the more spiritually in tune they start to become and the more they like connect with that spiritual side of themselves. However, they kind of used entertainment, food, it could be drugs. I'm not getting that because I didn't get the addict card, but I'm definitely seeing that they use pleasures to kind of get away from certain difficult situations that needed healing for you guys to come out on top. So there could have been some addictive quality on the surface or below the surface of you guys being how do I put this? Attached to like pleasure and fun at all costs, while like other darker emotions were getting buried underneath. And when they found that you would kind of start to come out from under the spell, they would kind of pull the strings and keep you in. Now it's interesting because I'm definitely seeing that this person gets bored. Like they get bored with the people that they're dating eventually, and then they leave. And your ex's higher self is basically saying because they haven't looked within and they haven't cut out these hedonistic tendencies. And the thing is, it's not your fault what happened with them. Like they were very subtly and kind of manipulating and controlling you from the sidelines. And so the thing is the main thing they're the most sorry for. And the thing is you might not have realized a lot of this was going on at the time. Let me make sure the camera's still on. You may not have realized a lot of this was going on at the time, but it's almost like once the strings were cut, there was like this emptiness because they were kind of moving you along. They were kind of motivating you the whole time by pulling the strings, right? With the strings card. So it's when they cut you off or when they left, it was like you felt orphaned. And this is the death card. The death card is, in this case, represents with the orphan card, a sudden and drastic change, almost like the Tower. And with the Five of Wands that I got in the beginning of the reading, it was almost interesting because it was almost like this hedonistic attitude was almost like stressful or conflicting or kind of like there was a lot of tension with it. And now it's like you are kind of resting and recovering and like reevaluating the relationship and looking back on it with fresh eyes. It's almost like now that you're out and from under their spell, you have this new perspective. You can kind of see that for what it was. Yeah, I definitely think they didn't want you to kind of rise out away from them or kind of learn certain life lessons and get out of their grip because they wanted a friend so badly at the time. But the thing is they do get bored easily. And this person, not even easily, it's just over time, they do get bored and they're like, okay, I need to move on, or I need to move on to someone else, or I need to get out of this situation. I need to move out of this relationship. And kind of like do something else with my life, basically. And it left you feeling orphaned. I mean, I can see where you felt so lost and confused because this is very much almost like a codependent relationship based on some unhealthy habits. You know, the hedonist is coming through very strong. It's almost like the devil card in tarot, you know. But it's interesting, your ex's higher self wants to paint a bigger picture for you and let you know that kind of like what you went through with your ex is good for you in the long run. And it's kind of like painting the picture with these 3 tarot cards down here. So basically, your ex's higher self wants to point out that like you are going to be okay in the long run, and you will be able to live kind of like a lavish lifestyle without burying your feelings. That's kind of like what your ex's higher self wants to let you know. Kind of like what you learned with your ex, and your ex's higher self is pointing this out, is that you don't need to live such an indulgent lifestyle to be happy, to feel fulfilled. I'm definitely seeing that with the 4 of Swords that kind of came out in the beginning of the reading when the great big love got hit and blown off, right? With the 2 of Wands right here, this guy is in his home, right? And he's looking out and he has the world. And this is kind of like a typical, usually it represents kind of like planning, or with the world in his hands, it can represent planning a trip or going the distance or planning to move somewhere or to make decisions and to go. And it can also represent a goal, with the Wands representing like motivation and kind of like passion. The Wands can represent, at least the first couple cards can represent a goal, setting a goal, being on your journey to a goal. And then with the 4 of Wands, kind of finding your place or achieving it. And it kind of is this journey across the land. So there's kind of like this element of like moving somewhere. It could be physical on a very literal sense, but it could be mental or psychological as well. Like you growing and developing and building on your motivation and your willpower. What I'm seeing here is your ex with the Death card, and you represented by the 2 of Wands, is your ex is walking away from you, right? And you're looking away from them. So I'm definitely seeing there was this solid, clean break. I'm pretty sure for most of you, your ex kind of broke it off with you very directly. Like they kind of broke up with you very directly. There was probably no underhanded, like, I'm leaving you. And I don't really sense any kind of like fade over time. I'm definitely seeing like a clean break. With the Death card and Orphaned, it was very sudden and they didn't explain it. They didn't explain why they were leaving. They kind of were just like, I'm out, I don't love you anymore, that kind of thing. So it was kind of very hurtful. And with the strings kind of cut, like I can almost see that they were holding you up with these strings, even though they were manipulating you at times. And all that stuff, when you cut strings like this, you're also breaking the connection pretty roughly. So it left you kind of high and dry. What I'm seeing here too is there's something your ex's higher self is pointing out, and it's a little abstract, so bear with me. With the 7 of Swords here, this can represent kind of like deception or keeping specific things hidden or sneaky with certain thoughts or behaviors. I always see this guy, like recently I did a meditation with this card because I had a lot of trouble with this card as a tarot reader. But the way I see it is he has 7 swords total. 2 are in the ground, 5 are in his hand. He's tiptoeing, right? So he doesn't want to be seen. These swords that he's carrying are things that he's keeping to himself that he's not sharing with others, and then he leaves 2 on the ground to share those with other people. There is an element of kind of like your ex saying that, you might have to be a little more sneaky to get kind of where you need to go. And sneaky is almost the wrong word. He's basically just saying don't air out or share your dirty laundry too readily on your journey. Basically, this card, he's looking back at his beginnings, and he's taking these swords with him. And I'm almost seeing something similar to the 10 of Wands here, where the swords are kind of burdening him. But with the swords being like thoughts, I'm definitely seeing that you're kind of carrying your thoughts with you on this journey, but the 2 swords that are left behind, you are dropping some and leaving some behind. You are sharing when you need to, or releasing certain things when you feel a need that it's the safest time to do so. So basically on your journey, your ex's higher self wants to let you know that yes, it's good to keep thoughts to yourself. It's good to keep those things hidden to yourself. Your ex's higher self is sorry that your ex kind of made you feel like you couldn't open up about these mental issues or these mental problems or these things going on in your life, because they kept just shoving more like, restaurants or dinners or parties over it to kind of cover it up. And whenever they saw you going to a dark place, they didn't want you to confront it. They just kind of pulled you out of it and kind of kept you going. So you basically kept building up all of these swords, and you kept holding all these swords, very similar to the 10 of Wands, right? Where you're taking on a lot of responsibilities, but it was within your own mind. You're building up all these issues and mental thoughts and things that are like kind of weighing you down. But they're saying that on your journey, it's okay to leave them, and it's okay to leave them like when it's the right time. You don't have to kind of open up all at once, because they're, your ex's higher self is pointing out that the floodgates could burst. One of the things that your ex did for you that was good, and that your ex's higher self is pointing out, is knowing when it's the right time to reveal certain information or to heal certain parts of yourself, and when it's the right time to move on and kind of deal with life and kind of put on a brave face, right? Your ex's higher self is pointing out that there is kind of like a time and a place to reveal these problems or to kind of indulge in them. And they're very, very, like I said in the beginning of this reading, they're very sorry that your ex wouldn't let you deal with them, because your ex was in a certain place where they didn't understand how to help people through these things. They kind of wanted everything like happy, happy, happy at all costs, without kind of really analyzing or getting into like a more shadow work, basically. Anyway, basically on your journey, your ex's higher self is saying that, like, don't feel you have to release this all at once if you feel like it's going to open a floodgate, but take a few moments to like pick one or two things to say to a specific person and heal those things. They're trying to tell you that on your journey from where you're starting without your ex, that as you go, you're going to also, with this guy looking back, you're going to look back and see how far you've come. I mean, if you look at this guy and imagine he keeps dropping all these swords, eventually he's going to feel weightless. And this running or this tiptoeing, he'll basically be sprinting towards his future. So it's almost like the momentum will just keep building and building and building. And your ex's higher self wants you to know that like once you start healing these things, you'll start building and building and building and kind of like running full-fledged force, like as a like unstoppable healed force of a person. And with this card right here, it's interesting because this card is basically your ex's higher self saying you can have anything you want. And that's kind of one thing that your ex like did for you that kind of like was a good thing, is they kind of showed you that you could have anything you want. You could have any kind of lifestyle, you could have any kind of luxury, you could have any kind of job. Like they kind of made it seem like the world's your playground. That's kind of one of the things that they did show you, that the world is kind of your playground, right? And your ex's higher self is saying, it just wasn't the right time when you were with your ex to learn that lesson. It was supposed to be time for you to heal, but because you were with your ex, it was kind of pointing out that it just wasn't the right time. And basically, like in the future, when you're kind of in this situation where you start to realize the world is your oyster, you're going to come back to a lot of these hedonistic attitudes with a fresh perspective, with a fresh mindset, coming from your own place of strength and willpower, with a fully healed mindset, and kind of like looking back on this kind of like place where you were, where you kind of left your ex, or kind of started from this point of like goal setting or looking at different things in a different way and kind of going on this journey. You're going to kind of look back on this yourself in the beginning, before this journey even began, and kind of like marvel at the kind of life that you had. Once again, your ex's higher self is just pointing out very strongly that they're so sorry for what your ex kind of did to you and put you through. In a way, they kind of weakened you a little bit, weakened your willpower, weakened your sense of mental, how do I put this, fortitude, your ability to deal with things on an internal level. They also left you high and dry, and they are so sorry for that. Your ex, on one hand, they are the type of person who could live whatever life, they wanted to live whatever lifestyle they wanted, but they also got bored easily, and that's why they left you high and dry. I feel like your ex's higher self is pointing out that they're working on feelings, and that they're going to become kind of like a person in the future who has like a stronger ability to empathize with people and not just kind of like string them along or just have fun at all costs, right? I'm definitely saying that you are going to be stronger by the end of this. You're going to be so surprised at the end. Look at all these wonderful options you can choose from. You're almost going to be at the end goal, you're going to be like almost paralyzed by choices of what to choose from, but it's going to be overwhelming in a very good way. Yeah, I think that's about it. With the Great Big Love card, it's interesting. I feel like there was this element where this relationship did feel very fun at times. It felt very enjoyable, and we're not trying to undercut that element. And especially depending on when you're coming to this reading, you may be thinking that well, I think anyone who's coming to this reading and you picked the ex that you're thinking about, you're starting to see the holes in the situation. You're starting to see kind of what went wrong. And you're kind of thinking like, like what was the purpose of this? And basically the purpose is kind of to like, your ex's higher self is basically confirming that the purpose is to kind of like lead you on kind of like a different path, lead you on like a more focused, how do I put this, planned approach or assertive approach to like make your way in the world. And your ex's higher self is saying, take it one step at a time. You don't have to share all of your inner troubles with someone right off the bat. It doesn't have to be a floodgate. You can show people on your terms when you feel ready. That's one thing your ex kind of wanted you. They wanted you to be safe from those inner thoughts too. They wanted you to be safe from those problems and traumas. But the problem is that we all kind of have to deal with these things sooner or later. And that's what your ex's higher self is pointing out, is that there's just a time and a place. Your ex didn't realize that. Your ex kind of thought, oh, there's no time, no place for this kind of behavior, no time for this healing behavior. We're just gonna have fun. And what your ex's higher self is pointing out is that there is a time for this, and just to do it at the right time and kind of like enjoy the journey. You're gonna set out the right plan. You're looking ahead with the world in your hand, from a safe place. Like, you're going to make the right decisions. You're going to go on the correct journey. I don't think that you're going to encounter someone else like your ex in this lifetime again, because I feel like with a strong center of your insides and yourself, like your inner mind, and kind of like developing that and working with that for the next part of your journey until you reach that kind of, where you can feel free to indulge in more hedonistic things or take the world, like where the world's your oyster and stuff. I think that you will kind of come to a place where you avoid these kinds of disappointing relationships in the future. And you will probably find someone who's, way more on your level, who can share with your inner world as well as the outer world. I think that, your ex's higher self is pointing out that like, you're going to be okay. They're pointing out that you have steps on this journey to take to heal from your ex, and that you're going to be okay. And yes, your ex's higher self, as soon as your ex starts connecting with their higher self, they're going to start learning a lot of these messages and things. It just depends on when they want to do it, when they're ready to do it, yeah. I hope you enjoyed that reading. I hope it brought you some closure. Your ex's higher self, like I said, is deeply sorry for what happened. Anyway, if you like that reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like the reading, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick a cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to move on to group 3 with, that's 4. Group 3 with Broken Open. Hey, group 3, this is if you picked the card Broken Open. So this will be your reading. We have 3 oracle cards. I actually want to, I just thought of this, and maybe I'll share it with you guys since I thought of it right before this pile, because as I'm like filming, in between filming these picket cards, but in between piles, I go to my AC and I like turn it down a couple notches. So like I can start my readings where my house is at like 75 degrees and it'll end up at like 68 or 67 degrees. Because when I do tarot readings, I overheat. Like that's kind of how I know that I'm kind of like communing or reaching with like different things, because it's like I overheat, my body almost overheats. And then like I know some tarot readers, they like burp or they like have little like bodily signs that they're like communing, and that's kind of like me. It's like I overheat and I'm just like, whoa, these readings are intense, so I get really hot while I read. Anyway, onto your reading. We have 3 oracle cards here. And with you, this is for people who pick Broken Open. I'm going to be shuffling tarot cards after we flip these cards over, but let's see what you got here. I'm also not taking reversals, just so people are aware of that. So we have Blessed, we have Commitment, and we have Child Nature. All right, now let's take some tarot cards. This is an interesting group. Okay, I'm going to pull 2 more. I'm going to pull from here. Okay, so I'll flip over the last two. We have Queen of Cups and we have Five of Wands. Okay, let's see what your ex's higher self wants to say to you guys. To group 3. Okay, so some of these readings, when I overlook at the cards, I like see a general theme, but then certain details aren't coming to me. So I'm gonna try to be as like detailed as I can with this pile, but there's some things that are, the thing is with this pile, I'm trying to see reasons why you guys split up, why they're your ex, because what I'm seeing here is this was a very healthy relationship. And if you're thinking like, whoa, it was not a healthy relationship, it was not anything of the sort. What I'm seeing here is there's almost like an element with Broken Open. It's interesting you picked Broken Open. I'm definitely seeing, because of that card being in the reading, that there was kind of like you guys kind of dug into each other. Like you kind of, this pile is like reminding me of like psychoanalyzing kind of because of this. And because we have the Queen of Cups too, it's like there's this analyzation factor where you guys kind of analyzed each other's behavior. But at the same time, that is only like one component of this relationship. There's a few things going on here and that I'm noticing with the Five of Wands, which is something that kind of is going to bring fire to your relationship, but at the same time is going to be something that you both have to work through in the future. The only reason I'm saying in the future is because for a lot of you, if you so choose, I feel like this ex would want to get back with you, or this ex would want to kind of like make a commitment and marry you. So whatever happened between you two, I'm definitely seeing that with the Four of Wands here, this person, you know, I know another tarot reader who this is their twin flame card, and that could very well be the case that this is a twin flame situation. But basically this is kind of like you've reached this like milestone or peak and it's like a good time, you know? It can also represent a marriage or the home. It's definitely a positive, very positive card to come out in an X reading. But with the Hangman and the Queen of Cups, I'm gonna be getting into some things about this kind of like thing where your ex's higher self, so your ex's higher self is just pointing out that like, hello, are you crazy? Your relationship was perfect. Our relationship was perfect, you know? It's almost like you and your ex are kind of like, you're having some kind of issue that's not even almost like a real issue. It's like you guys kind of are fighting. Obviously you had an issue with Broken Open, but it's almost like, wow, I can't believe they know so much of me, or I can't believe they figured me out, or I can't believe they, found this out about me, and they're just kind of like, I can't believe they dug that deep with me. It's almost like you're upset that they were kind of getting you and trying to push you to kind of open up. You're trying to push you to heal. It's interesting, or something about you pushing them to heal. It's one way or the other, or maybe it was both of you trying to push the other one into kind of like something where you kind of like create more. What I'm seeing with this too is like, especially with the Five of Wands here, this kind of like poking and prodding with each other creates like really happy feelings with you guys, but it's almost like you didn't finish the process. It's almost like this person, maybe you guys were together for a while. I'm picking up for some of you, you were together for a while, and then you kind of had one big fight or one kind of thing, and you were like, what? And you kind of just didn't want to deal with the relationship after that, because you kind of, I think both of you were weirdly in such a good place with the Blessed card that you almost like, when you split, it was like you were okay splitting with each other, because it was almost like you were both so okay. And even after you're both really okay, I'm definitely sensing that the two of you, your ex and you, and your ex's higher self is mentioning this right now as well, we're very like okay and happy people. You're both very happy people, and that sometimes can be difficult to find. A lot of people go through a lot of chaotic relationships in their lives and don't find the one, early on, or just when they do find the one, there's always like, there could be some issues. Some people get married to people who there's kind of like issues and stuff with, but with you and this person, I'm sensing that some of your issues are more along the lines of what other people expect of you. It's like, it's like you and this person were really happy. Like you guys were very, very happy together, like almost perfectly happy together. With Blessed card, this is just, and the Four of Wands here, and you guys were very happy. Your ex's higher self's like, hello, you guys were good together. You were happy together. You were perfect together. What is this? Who are you listening to? I'm sensing like with the Five of Wands, there's some competition or friends that were jealous of your relationship or wanted your attention back or something like that. And your friends were kind of like misleading you a little bit, saying like, oh, you don't need them. And the fight, when you guys had this fight or whatever it was, some kind of like probing or something, whatever this was, it was like, how do I put this? It was almost like a non-issue, even for you and your ex. And it was like your friends got in the way and kind of were like, oh, this big deal. Like this person's not good for you. This person's not the best person for you because you shared it with them in their perspective, in their mind. That wasn't a good thing, or that wasn't a good argument, or they wouldn't have liked your ex doing that to them. But for you, it didn't bother you. Like it really, like it bothered you on one level because it was different and you guys kind of had been going along the same path for so long, and you had one kind of fight, some kind of differences between both of you. And now that you're split up, what I'm seeing here with the Queen of Cups is your ex or you is analyzing this situation to the bone, kind of like, what happened? Why did it go wrong? What's going on? And the fact that you're analyzing it, instead of analyzing it with your ex, I'm definitely seeing you're analyzing it with all these people. Think of these people around you in your life, kind of like competing and vying for opinions and arguments. Like, I think he did this for this reason, this for this reason, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's almost like the thing that is the lesson to be learned here, or the reason why this is happening, or the reason why this person's your ex, is because there's a lesson to be like, and I'm saying that some of you might not want to get back with your ex, right? Maybe you're thinking like, I'm still not going to get back with them. Maybe you had a bigger falling out than I'm thinking. And even if that's the case, I'm even thinking that some of you maybe have picked the wrong pile, because this person is like so good for you. We have the Commitment card here. And the Commitment card is like, a soulmate, like a committed, like perfect relationship with Blessed and the Four of Wands. Like this person's like your number one. This person's your it person. The thing is like other people's opinions with the Five of Wands, like, and their discussion about your relationship is getting in the way of your relationship. You're both in your separate corners. One person's talking to their friends, the other person's talking to their friends, and, you're trying to analyze a relationship out loud with other people, when really you should be pulling that analyzation back towards each other. Now, it's interesting because I'm not going to say that there's a certain situation where it's probably best if you guys don't get back together right away. I'm sensing that this kind of did happen for a reason. Your ex's higher self is pointing that out to me right now because of the Hanged Man card. The Hanged Man card represents taking time out and finding a different perspective, looking at things from a different angle. And that's kind of what's needed here. It's almost like both of you, things were going along so great. I'm definitely sensing for a lot of you, you might be younger, like people that are watching my channel that are younger, or you may have less experience in relationships. This may have been one of your first relationships or something. And it was like so good, but when it got different or got into territory where you thought it was like, or you thought there were problems, right? It's almost like, this is like you're needed to work through this, because right now the conflicts with your friends and analyzing things with your friends is more important for you guys to kind of like have this kind of like understanding that, a relationship is kind of like a unified one-on-one type of thing, and you can't really take other people's outside perspectives and opinions like to bring it into this kind of connection. And with Hangman, it's just saying that there is some time where you guys need some space to process this kind of information. I think eventually, if you guys do like end up getting married, which is, I'm just going to be honest, I'm seeing that you guys are going to get back together and live happily ever after, yada, 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 all the good, amazing things. There is this Hangman situation for a reason. It's about taking a time out, pausing, reflecting, looking at the situation from a different perspective, right? And right now you're kind of bouncing ideas with your friends and stuff in this analyzation, but the Queen of Cups is turned away from these. Let me show you these cards. The Queen of Cups is turned away from this petty arguments and this kind of like battling between all your friends about who's right or wrong. And they're turned away and they're starting to analyze the situation on their own. And I'm definitely saying the Queen of Cups is also a cup card. So it's also about heart feelings, you know, and like analyzing feelings and emotions and having a deep well of like your personal feeling experiences within yourself. And I'm definitely seeing you're turning in, you're starting to look at that. You're starting to retrospect what this relationship actually meant for you. And the Hangman just represents kind of like in this situation, analyzing the conflict, if you can even call it what you guys had was a conflict. Analyzing it from a different perspective. I mean, he's hanging upside down, right? He's looking at it from a completely different angle. And I think that's what's needed here is for both of you to look at things from a different angle and kind of see that maybe something that is different to your friends or your family or to society might actually be something that works really well with both of you together. Yeah. The rest of this reading, like I'm not going to lie, your ex's higher self is just like a compliment fest, you know, and there's a few things that they want me to point out to kind of like, I think this reading's like meant for you to like shock you to realize that you kind of had a good thing with this person, you know, with the blessed card, things just fell into your lap as a couple, you know, things were just like kind of brilliant with you guys. You guys kind of were perfect for each other. And with this woman, she's kind of like in a shell and she's kind of praying. I'm definitely seeing that there's this element where she's kind of like a hermit crab, if you think about it, you know, she's in the shell and she's praying and stuff. And it's almost like she's, you know, trying to build her own home or her own nest inside her shell. And she's like creeping it as like a spiritual center, a spiritual place of like, kind of like rejuvenation between both of you. And especially with this Four of Wands over here, I'm definitely sensing that there is this element where you guys possibly could get married in the future. I'm sensing that there's like a lot of stuff that needs to happen, especially because this gets more, this will make more sense in the future for both of you, because with the Queen of Cups here, this represents analyzing the complexity of the relationship and kind of doing it with each other or with those different perspectives. I mean, this woman, this Queen of Cups, is turned away from all these petty arguments and arguments being thrown your way. Five of Wands is all about that. It's all about kind of like different argument, like if it's a verbal kind of Five of Wands or if it's a physical Five of Wands. Verbal Five of Wands is different people's opinions, all vying for supremacy, all of equal weight and importance. It can kind of create a sense of confusion, but because this Queen of Wands is turned away from it, looking at this Hangman, and then over here at this beautiful kind of like marriage, like party, happy celebration card, you're kind of turning away from this and looking within at your own private feelings. I'm definitely seeing that this is the lesson that your ex's higher self is kind of like, this is the lesson that needs to be learned. And it's kind of like, it's almost like you're looking within, you're kind of like, yeah, they were really great. Like, I can't think of anyone else I'd want to be with. You know, I really felt for them. Like, they were perfect for me. You know, I know my friends and family thought this was a big deal, this fight that we had, but I mean, it didn't really bother me so much. It was just something that like, they kind of told me was a bad thing. And so it's almost like your ex's higher self's like, hello, wake up. Like, it was a good thing. With child nature, I know I haven't covered this card yet, but it says friendships with animals, communication with nature spirits. This is something that's going to be really important to your kind of connection with this person, is this kind of nurturing like attitude towards each other. And this is what's missing after the initial broken open phase. So the fact that you guys kind of like picked each other apart and kind of like, I don't know if attacking each other is the correct word. You just were uncovering certain things about the other one that they didn't want to have revealed yet in the relationship. But let me tell you, this is normal for you guys. This is just making you each more comfortable. It's like you're creating a kind of like emotional resonance with the other one to kind of like bring out their weaknesses and let them come to light and accept them from each other. I mean, this is definitely something that if you know, were to get with your ex again or analyze these things with your ex again, you would realize that that was the process going on. But I think it's going to still take, with the Hangman in reverse, some perspective and some time away. It's also, the Hangman represents a pause in communication or a pause in the situation. So your ex's higher self is just saying like, I think your ex higher self is pointing out that they want it. They would want a commitment. They would want the whole world with you. You know, they would want everything with you. And with child nature, this is saying that the key is the nurturing. The key is kind of like nurturing those wounds back to a healthy place after kind of breaking them open and pulling them into the light, you know? Your friends may have said, "Oh, they said that about you." Well, that's not true, you know, because your friends, or I don't want to say your friends, this could just be people you're communicating with about this, but your friends are there to kind of like support you and make you feel happy, right? But your lover, your life partner, is there to see all of you. The Lover's card in tarot is two people standing totally naked, facing each other, completely revealed to the other one, complete revelation, completely revealing yourself to your partner and being okay with that and being happy with that. That's like true love. And the fact is you guys were on your way to doing that. You were kind of like breaking into each other a little bit so you can both show each other the kind of like truth behind the facade that you each have. And it's almost like you need that nurturing to heal that part back over, to kind of like heal what was kind of happening in that situation. I'm definitely seeing that, like, it's almost like those wounds need to be accepted. And when you're looking within, the thing is you're seeing a lot of this. Coming to this reading about your ex, you're kind of seeing a lot of this already, because I'm sensing with this Queen of Wands, this like deep introspection, this deep analyzation of your feelings, your inner world. You're kind of already seeing this. You know, it just takes a little bit of a different perspective, and to turn away a little bit from the opinions of others and think like, if I could give you anything in this reading, and I think what your ex, it's the higher self, wants to tell you too, is like, it's important to think for yourself. It's important to say, like, was I happy? Without anyone else's opinions, like, was I happy? And I mean, that's kind of where you have to come from to determine if you want to move forward with this person, you know? This reading, I think that's about it. Something else I want to say is that this kind of like opinions and back and forth and stuff is going to be an element in your kind of relationship as well. But with your spouse, or your ex, maybe it will be your spouse. I mean, with the commitment card here, it's a very strong indicator that you two could be very, very happy together, right? And your ex's higher self is like, they're waiting. They're here. Just, you know, like, come back, you know, like, it's pretty simple. It's almost like the fight, if you could call it a fight, was kind of like just to get you guys to think a little bit deeper. That's why I'm sensing that some of you, this could have been like one of your first relationships, or maybe you don't have much experience with relationships, because I'm definitely seeing that, like, it's interesting. People who find each other so young, or people who find each other and they're meant for each other at such like either a young age or at an age where they don't have much experience with other relationships and they find each other, sometimes that can be hard, because I mean, I can imagine like wanting to think like, well, how do I know this is the right person for me, because I haven't experienced all these other things? But the thing is, you will feel it on a resonating level. And the thing is, relationships, especially ones like this, even though they can act on the superficial plane, they can go deeper. And the fact is that you guys made the first step to get deeper with each other, right? The fact is, if you branch out and let that person know those parts of you, with child nature, Queen of Cups, and with the Wands and the Blessed card, the Four of Wands and the Blessed card, they're going to be catching you. They're going to be there to catch you, right? Yeah. Also, one little thing is that that's being pointed out to me is like, your friends are not evil or bad people. They're just trying to help you based on like through their lens of like how relationships should work or something like that. Like, you're probably still going to be, even if you get back with this ex, you're probably going to still have your same friends and stuff like that. It's not like your friends are going to leave you or anything like that. You know, they'll probably be a little confused. There'll be a few like like, oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think you were good for him. You know, there might be a little bit taking back the words and putting in the different words, that kind of thing. But for the most part, like, this just really looks like a good, solid relationship. And I know this person's your ex, and it is totally up to you if you want to get back with this person or not. Like I said, if you picked this pile and there were some deeper, darker things going on, and you felt burned, or you felt insecure, or you felt vulnerable, or you felt any of these feelings that made you feel weak in any way, or made you feel hurt in any way, you probably did not pick the right pile. This is a very healthy relationship. And even if you guys did get into a quote unquote fight, it's almost like a fight that could be healed easily. Not easily. All fights need work. If you get into any kind of fight, it needs work to heal. But this is something that could be healed through like caring for each other, nurturing each other with blessed. And these two cards here with the home life, it's something that would happen if you guys were living together, which I'm sensing for some of you. I'm just getting the feeling that a lot of you are a little like kind of younger, or you just are a little more inexperienced with relationships, or you're almost like not sure about kind of like this person. And a message for some of you that I did get at the beginning of the reading that is going to be for some of you, this might be a situation where you guys do split up for a while and maybe kind of like go your separate ways and experience life a little bit on your own. And then over time, you guys meet up in the future, maybe like 10 years from now, and you discuss all your situations, and it's kind of like, wow, like we really click, or why didn't we work out? And you kind of won't remember. You won't be like, I don't know, like I don't really remember why we broke up. Like we didn't really have a serious fight. I mean, I know my friends didn't like you because they thought you were treating me horribly, but the thing is you have to decide for yourself. You have to look within and decide for yourself and truly ask yourself, was this person hurting me or helping me? And that's kind of the message that your ex's higher self wants to let you know for this reading. So I'm going to end it there, and very happy to read for you guys. It's, rare when I get to do readings where, there's such a strong quote unquote commitment between two people on a spiritual level, and on, which could also manifest on the physical plane. So if you like the reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, we're going to move on to the last group, group 4 with Birds of a Feather. Hey, group 4, this is if you picked Birds of a Feather. I'll show you guys the card. This beautiful card right here, we have these little birds, 4 little birds on these posts hanging out, just chilling like birds do. Okay, so let's see. With your pile, we have 3 oracle cards that I'm going to be covering that I pre-drew for these piles. And then I'm also going to be drawing tarot cards, shuffling on camera and drawing those tarot cards for the reading. So we have a little bit of like, so we don't have too much shuffling and stuff. We just have kind of like straight to the point, a little bit of shuffling, and we'll get into this reading. So let's get into the reading, and we'll flip over some of your oracle cards now. Also, I'm not taking reversals. Just so you guys know, if you see me flipping over reversals, I'm not taking those in this reading. So we have, oh my gosh, whoa. Okay, some intense energy to start with. Let's see what cards are going to come out for the tarot cards. Feeling like shuffling before I draw the next 2, so I'm going to do that. Sometimes these things are important, and it's good to listen to your hunches, your intuition. I just saw, just so you know, sometimes the cards flip up and I see a card like that. I just saw the star card in reverse. So maybe that's going to have a point on this reading, or there might be something about that for this reading. The star card typically indicates like hope for the future, or kind of like following your North Star, being on the correct path, the right thing for you in the right moment. Sometimes the star for me represents the soon after the present moment, like just within the near future, like kind of the next step. Like, as a rung of a ladder. Like if you think of a rung of a ladder into the stars in the sky, like looking at one star and going to the next star and connecting the dots of the stars, the next star is kind of like the next path on the step. But being in reverse, it's something about like something being blocked in the near future. With we got Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Pentacles, 5 of Swords, and Ace of Swords reverse. Okay, let me take a look at this. This is quite an interesting read. I will be honest, this is quite an interesting read because we have this card means 2 things. And I'll get into that in a second, but there's just a few other things coming out here. And there's kind of like a good resolution for some of you, for very few of you, because with this type of connection, it was very intense as far as like, very sexually intense, very like high with the passion card, very high physical relationship vibes, but also with the Five of Swords card, a little bit of domination and control between partners. So let's get into what your ex's higher self wants to tell you in this reading. So first of all, your ex's higher self is pointing out that they're saying like, hey, I'm sorry, I was an intense partner. I was an intense boyfriend, I was an intense girlfriend, I was an intense partner. You might still be reeling from the fallout. I know the sex was great, or I know the intimate parts were great, but you're probably still spinning, and it's time to breathe. Take a few moments, chill out, breathe. Just sit down, take some time out, breathe in, breathe out, relax. Let the tension flow in, breathe in and let the tension flow out. Breathe out the tension, right? They're saying this because your relationship was very, very intense. It was one of those relationships where it was like, it was good, it was bad, it was everything in between, and it was kind of like a roller coaster ride. It was just kind of like up and down and all over the place. And so they're kind of just saying your ex's higher self is like, I know I was a lot. I know I was an intense partner. I know there were good times and bad times, but just breathe out because I was a lot to handle. So just breathe. It's over now. Just breathe. And that's kind of like something that I think is kind of hilarious. Your ex's higher self and probably your ex in the future or right now kind of has like a funny, good sense of humor. And I'm definitely sensing that a little bit with this person. They kind of have a good like sense of humor with that kind of message, and that's kind of like the intro message to the card, to what's going on. The Passion card and this Five of Swords card is just indicating that your ex and you, this kind of just giving me a little bit of background information about the both of you. The physical passion was really, really intense, but on some other factors, there was elements of like control and submission. We also see that here with the Slave card. There were some elements of control and submission, and I can tell that you yourself were a very willful person, right? You were very like willful, and it wasn't something where you were like this defenseless little lamb that was being like controlled and dominated, and it was a horrible situation. It was like you fought back. Like you were intense too. You were like, no, like I'm gonna dominate you, and then they were trying to dominate you. It created a lot of sexual frustration, a lot of sexual chemistry, a lot of passion between both of you because you were both very strong personalities, right? Birds of a feather, it makes sense you pick birds of a feather because you were very similar. They were like just like you, right? It was kind of like the fact that you guys like were so common or so close together as far as like personality type that made the chemistry interesting. And so with Slave, there was an element that like one of you, there was an element that it was almost like your ex's higher self is saying that like one of you needed to kind of submit to make the relationship purely like normal or kind of like stabilize. Like the thing is it was always intense. It was always high energy or always high passion or always high sex drive or always intense. It was a non-stop roller coaster ride. And I'm definitely saying that you both enjoyed that at the beginning because it was like, finally, someone who's as crazy and random and wild as I am, you know? But the thing is, I can see that it wore you guys down a little bit over time. The fact that you guys were so similar is kind of wore you down over time. And in the end, with the Ace of Swords in reverse, it left you feeling like you were kind of like, I don't know if weaker is the right word. It just left you feeling like lost in a way where you felt defeated. Like with the relationship, it was kind of like the blowouts or the fights and stuff were kind of like, both of you wanted to one-up each other. I guess you could say, one-up might be the wrong word, but that's what I'm going to go with for this example, is you both kind of wanted to be the winner in the situation. You wanted to win over their argument. They wanted to win over yours. And you guys never wanted that. When it came to the settlements of the relationship and discussion of things, it was just intense and a lot to handle. The relationship was like always on. It was always turned on. There was always a lot of passion, a lot of energy. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. And so that's why it was so funny when your ex's higher self was like, I know I was a lot. Just take some time to breathe. I'm gone now. Just take some time to breathe out. Take some time. Like even when you're watching this reading, if you're starting to feel yourself getting heated again, your ex's higher self's like, while you're watching this reading, take some time to breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Just they want you to relax. And that actually was good for me because I'm feeling the passion and the tension as I'm reading these cards. So yeah, let's get into it. The lesson that your ex's higher self said that it might have seemed kind of chaotic and kind of just like, you know how magnets are like a positive and a negative create like an attraction, but like a positive and a positive, it's fun to try to push them together, but they repel each other. That's kind of like, in a way, what your guys' connection was like. You were getting so close to each other, and there was a lot of tension and chemistry. It was intense. That's all I'm gonna say. It was intense. But there is a lesson here. And the fact is your ex's higher self wants to point out this lesson, and it has to tie back in with this slave card, right? So there was a lesson because both of you were very headstrong, right? You were both very, like, we'll call you yang personalities, or kind of like more masculine or like driven or forceful personalities. There was an element where the lesson was to kind of like get you both looking to receiving things, right? Because there's an element with the Wheel of Fortune here that there are, and you may have already known some of this happening to you, but there's gonna be coming your way some lessons dealing with like fate, and things coming your way where it's almost like uncontrollable. And that's something that is a thing with the universe. And we don't always control our destinies. And that's a point that is being tried to be made here. And that's why you guys were together, was this kind of relationship where it was supposed to get both of you like training yourselves to be receptive, or to be in the backseat, or to not have control, and to kind of just enjoy the ride, go along with things as how they go, and kind of like be receptive to what the universe is throwing at you. Because what we're seeing here is sometimes the universe is also a dominant, passionate individual. And sometimes they can throw things your way that feel really intense and you want to butt your head up against. It's almost like this relationship was almost in a way like a training grounds to create this kind of like, and slave is like really strong. You can think of the word slave as like being receptive, or like that you have a master over that's higher than you. That it's almost like what this kind of reading is trying to tell you, like, man, I don't know if you guys are going to want to hear this, but there is a sense of freedom that we all have, right? And we kind of create our own freedom. And I feel like you watching this reading, you know this, that you kind of create your own freedom, you create your own destiny, and based on your will and your power to to overcome and come out on top, right? With slave, this is trying to teach you that some things in this life happen and you can't control them. And sometimes it's good to just receive what the universe is throwing at you, whether it's good or bad, and kind of like create a connection and a unique relationship with the universe, with God, with, anyone, Thor, Zeus, like anyone that you kind of feel is like above you in the divine realms. And you can just think of it as, I'm just going to use the term universe because it could apply, if you're religious or something, it could apply differently to you. You could think of it as God or something. But for most of you, I'm just going to use the term universe, right? That there is something out there, a force greater than ourselves, that has more control and dominion over our life than we do. And that's one of the lessons coming in here, is the lesson of fate and how fate plays a hand in our existence. And kind of like sometimes we have to surrender to what's happening around us to kind of move forward from there. And that's what this relationship was trying to show you. You now know, because something has been putting so much pressure on you, like your partner in this situation, your ex was putting so much pressure on you and you were putting pressure on them. When you guys did surrender and receive that pressure, it would flow harmoniously, right? Now, you weren't used to it. You kind of fought back and you kind of wanted to dominate them back and stuff like that. And we're not saying that in future relationships you should find someone as equally forceful, because what we're saying here is that I think eventually you want to go with your natural instincts. If you're a more forceful person, you want to kind of control how things go. You're going to want to be with someone who's a little more like yin energy, kind of like receptive to things, someone who's a little more go with the flow, that kind of thing, doesn't mind a more dominant person. They kind of welcome and accept that vibe. But what we're seeing here is that that's not kind of how the universe is going to operate for you. And that's kind of what the relationship was supposed to teach you, is to how to take a backseat to forces beyond your control, right? And that's where the Wheel of Fortune comes into play, because as soon as you learn this lesson, and your ex's higher self is pointing this out, is that your ex's higher self is coming to you from a place where your ex learns this lesson too. Your ex is learning that kind of things just happen in the universe and you can't control them. It's like fate has a way of handing out, dishing out whatever it wants to you, and you kind of have to just accept it and move forward, you know? And so what they're saying is the more you accept this turn of events, right? With the Wheel of Fortune, think of the wheel turning and good luck turning to bad luck or positive or negative. And if you look at this, the characters on the Wheel of Fortune are all reading books. Like there's a couple angel-like creatures, some are animals, but they're all reading books. I don't know if you can see that. I'll show you some up close. They're reading books and then they're reading books. And when you're reading a book, you don't control how the book operates. You're not writing the book, you're just reading. You're in a receptive state of mind. You're just seeing your life unfold. You're reading about the characters. You're seeing different things happening. So this is kind of talking about that. It's kind of talking about watching the things unfold, looking at the ups and downs, the different turns, and like where this relationship was kind of like a roller coaster ride. It was very intense, very passionate, very engaging, and very, well, yeah, you guys had a good sex life. If you were like into, like if you were having sex with this person, then you guys were, it was, whoa, sparks were flying. But it's almost like you have to kind of receive and watch things unfold, you know? I am seeing with the Ace of Pentacles, this can be my friendship card. And it's interesting, this is kind of representing the fact that you two could be friends after this, or you might still be friends, or you might kind of like see them around or talk to them, or they might be in your vicinity or in like maybe your group of friends or someone you know. And what they're trying to say with the Ace of Pentacles is that this could be a good person. Your ex could be a good person for like a future business connection or a future kind of like almost like a working relationship where you guys work together on a similar project or something like that. But for the most part, I'm just seeing this as saying that you guys can still be friends after this connection. You know, that I think once you guys both learn this lesson, and your ex's higher self is making this very clear and stuff, is once you learn how to both be receiving, once you open that side of yourself up, where you learn how to receive things coming in towards you, learning how to kind of let loose the reins of control and kind of just receive what's coming towards you, you guys will have a more amicable relationship. But I want you to remember too, that you don't want to forget your strengths. Sometimes your strength is to be more assertive or controlling, or controlling can even be like viewed as a negative thing, but some people really like that sense of control that their partner provides because it makes them feel safe, it makes them feel secure. And that's the thing, is like you might have that more kind of like dominating aspect to your nature, and someone else is going to really appreciate that. But this is also just saying that we're all multifaceted. No one's always going to be some kind of aggressive personality forcefully taking on the world, and no one's just going to kind of receive things and never step into a form of action. We all have both, and to learn how to experience both is what this relationship was trying to teach you, and what your ex's higher self is like letting you know. And remember, this was for a reason. It was a fun reason, because I'm seeing you guys have a lot of fun. But yeah, it was a reason. So even if you feel a little bit defeated, or you feel like a little lost, like, man, I didn't come out on top in this relationship. I wasn't the victor in this relationship, or I didn't win out in this relationship. You know, I feel like I lost in this relationship, you know? And because of this tension, this kind of like forceful, dominating tension from both of you, I'm definitely saying that you might feel on the inside, I don't think you'd ever show this, but you might feel a little defeated about this person kind of like dealing with you. But your ex's higher self is pointing out that, you know, you and your ex are going to go through some stuff in life that's, you know, you can't control. And that's what this relationship is trying to teach you, is that sometimes you just can't control what's happening. You know, sometimes you have to be a slave to the master, whether that master is the universe or a relationship or something like that. I'm definitely saying for both of you, just because I know how some of these things work out, the thing is like you're both going to be with people who are more compatible with you and are more like malleable to your intention and stuff, and like your direction of how you want things to go. But for the and the thing is you're going to learn how to be that in that role too. And I think interestingly enough, both of you learning how to be receptive, whether it's with each other in the past relationship, or learning how to be receptive to the universe, is going to make you feel more sympathy and more empathy for people who are receptive to your willpower and your decisions and your direction that you want the people around you to go in. You know, you're going to know more of like, wow, if I'm out of control and something else is in control of my life, I know what it's like to be on the other end of my energy, you know, my controlling energy, or how I kind of control my environment, you know? So Very cool reading. Very happy to read for you. Strong personalities are the best. They're a little, sometimes they can be a little, I've had some strong personalities as friends, and it's always a good time. Anyway, let me end the reading there actually, because I think I've pretty much mentioned everything. Let me do a double check. The hilarious message was right at the beginning. Like, I know the relationship was intense. You know, it was really, I don't know if it was high. It could have been high energy. It could have been high, like sexual chemistry, but with the controlling and stuff, it was just a lot of force and passion, all at once. And it was almost nonstop. So just take a moment to breathe out, just relax. It's, gonna be okay. Just, that's what they're basically saying. So if this reading was a little more intense for you, brought up some of those feelings, just take some time to breathe out, relax. Whenever you're feeling that intensity too much, you can always breathe in and out and relax and kind of come back to your center. So, birds of a feather, very interesting. So if you like that reading, you can like or comment below. If you really like this reading, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post pick-a-cards like this once every 1 to 2 weeks. With that said, that was the last group for today, so I will bid you adieu, and I will see you guys in the next pick-a-card. Bye.